Hello dear learner, I welcome you to the lecture 3 of week 1 for the course that is Critical Traditions and its Significance. The topic of today's lecture is Features of Critical Theory and Significance of Critical Traditions. So, first of all, I will discuss the main topics which will be covered in today's lecture, and they are features and the central themes of critical theory, significance of critical theory, understanding various forms of domination in modern society, significance of critical theories for various movements, and understanding the critique of the modern advanced, that is Western civilization. So, we will be covering all these topics in today's lecture. Now, first of all, the continuation of the slide 2, where we have discussed the main features of critical theory, and continuing with that, we will today discuss some more features of critical theory. And the three most important cornerstone of critical theory are, it is solidarity first, then second is resistance, and third is freedom. Now, let us explain one by one. Now, when we see that one of the important feature of critical theory is solidarity, it means that it believes in the collective action of all the individuals in bringing about change and transformation in the society. It believes that if we are united in our endeavor, we can bring about any change and transformation in the society. If you remember the central tenet of Marxism, where Karl Marx has said, when he was giving a call to the workers of the world, and he said that by asking the workers to unite, and he said that you have nothing to lose but your chains. He believed that the proletariat revolution, it cannot occur if all the proletariats across the world were not united. So, therefore, all the critical thinkers, they believe that if all the underprivileged, if they are united as a group, then they can give better help in achieving the objectives. And the second important cornerstone of critical theory is the feature of resistance. Of course, if you want to make changes in the society, if you want to bring about changes in the structures, in the processes, in the behavioral patterns of society, we have to raise questions, we have to revolt, we have to raise our voices, because without that there is no chances, or there is a very less chances of bringing about change and revolution in the society. And of course, the third is freedom, because the objective of the critical tradition is to bring about human freedom and emancipation. So, all these three important features of critical theory, they constitute the cornerstone. Now, the next important feature of critical theory is that it aims at interpreting the particular with an eye on totality, because it does not see individual in its distinctiveness only, it sees individual in terms of the wider environmental context in which he or she is located. For example, if we have to understand a form of injustice or exploitative structure in the society, we have to understand the social, economic, political and even historical reasons or conditions under which such type of practices and structures have flourished. So, therefore, they have continuously asked for connecting the individual with the collectivity and the particular with the totality. Now, as we have studied in lecture 1 and 2, that all the critical theorists, they are against any perennial forms of theories, and under that they have made a very important criticism of positivism, because they believe that in the name of finding out facts, they actually try to hide various forms of inequalities and injustices which are hidden behind the social realities. So, therefore, all the critical theorists, they argue that we have to find out those ideas, those narratives, those concepts which gives rise to so called oppressive practices and exploitation in the society. Simply factual analysis of data is not enough. We have to also consider the fact that there are certain norms which are still unaccomplished, and there are also certain goals of human society which are yet to be realized. So, we have to combine facts with values, and also we have to combine facts with practice or theory with practice. Then the fourth important feature is that all the critical theorists, they believe that thought must respond to new problems and new possibilities for liberation. So, the critical theorists, they are not simply analyzing the present problems or the present injustices in the society. They are also speculating, and they are also actually prescribing the function of thought or the function of political theory. As we all know that any political theory is having relevance only when it is able to search certain, you can say, solutions to all the problems around us. So, therefore, one of the primary duty of thought or theory is to see that they are able to respond to the problems or the emerging crisis in the society, and also they are at the same time able to provide the solutions to them. Another very important feature of critical theory is that they have challenged the establishmentarian viewpoints, because they have argued for transformation of human lives and experiences, and for that they have to challenge the status quo, because without actually challenging the status quo, they cannot provide for radical alternatives. So, therefore, they have criticized all established beliefs, all the practices and traditions, and they have always raised so many questions about them. And continuing with the same line of thought, it has also questioned the ways in which our thinking has become mechanical, guided by pragmatic and profit concern, and the ethical component is vanishing, and the aesthetic enjoyment is getting standardized. All the critical theorists have highlighted a very fundamental problem of modern society, and that problem is that how we think, how we perceive what is happening around us, and the way we perceive things actually influences our behavior. But unfortunately, our thinking should be more critical, it should be rational. But on the other hand, our thinking has become more of a mechanical kind of activity. It works like a machine. It actually does not have its own thinking or own creativity, and that is one of the major problem of modern society or modern industrial society. Another important problem associated with our thinking is that it is always concerned about earning profits, or it is always concerned about acquiring all the material things of life rather than the ethical concerns of life or the ethical objectives of life. And therefore, it has actually led to rise of so many important problems in the society as we are manifesting it today. Another very important part of our endeavor or our ways of thinking, which has been highlighted by the critical theorist, is that the aesthetic enjoyment which was earlier associated with our work and with our choices, and actually they were very surprised to find that those aesthetic aspects have also vanished. So, it is not only the ethical consideration, but also the aesthetic aspects of our thinking has also vanished, and this has serious, you can say, implications or repercussions about how we behave, how we take decisions in our political and economic life. Now, after understanding in some detail about the different features of critical theory, now we are going to see what has been the significance of critical theory in our lives, how critical theory has impacted all the dimensions of our life, all the dimensions of our society at the national and at the international level. Now, first of all, I would like to say that the critical theory, it constitutes one of the major intellectual traditions of the 20th century, as I have already explained in slide 1, that but also in the field of philosophy, in the field of political, as I have already explained, in the field of aesthetics, in the field of theory of arts and the study of modern European literature, music, history of ideas, and then sociology, psychology and cultural studies. And even in the field of, you can say, the communication studies. So, there is no field or no discipline which has been untouched by the impact of critical theory. So, therefore, the usefulness of the critical theory is so immense that it is not possible to explain all the dimensions in a single lecture. However, we will try to highlight some of the important or some of the major contributions of critical theory in today's lecture. Now, another very important contribution made by the critical theorist have been that it has helped in finding out or helped in seeing the various types of power imbalances in the society, and these power imbalances can be in the economic field, in the social field, in the political field, at the national level, international level or at the local level. Now, it has provided us with the perspective, with the norms or the normative basis for understanding that why a certain practice or a certain structure is prevalent. It has provided an analysis or a critical examination of various types of practices and structures in our society, which has helped in understanding how the power relations actually work in society and what are the implications of such power relations on the various aspects of our life. So, therefore, can be said that our entire society and every aspect of our life is nothing but a work-play of power balances or power relations. And this power relation is so important. One of the important political philosophers, that is Foucault, has also said that ultimately it is the power which produces knowledge, or knowledge is connected with power. So, therefore, it is very easy to say that, and we have already seen that how all the critical theorists have actually challenged the various power imbalances in the society. Now, the next important significance or contribution of critical theory has been that it has helped in highlighting the various means by which the dominance exercised in the society, because till now we all have been talking about dominance and the various structures which help in making this type of activities. But we must also know that what are those structures, what are those medium which helps in maintaining this type of dominating structure. And some of the means which have been highlighted by the critical theorist, they are: first is the language, and second is the mass media, and third is the scientific method. Now, besides these, there are multifarious other methods by which, or medium by which the modern society tries to maintain its power or its influence over the ordinary people, or the rich and the elite, they tries to maintain its dominance over the poor and the powerless. But here it is not possible to discuss all the mediums or all the media, but the three most important medium which has been highlighted by the critical theorist, I have tried to present in this lecture. And the first is the language. Language is a very important medium to exercise domination and also discrimination in the society. Now, there are innumerable examples to illustrate this point, but I would like to quote one example to illustrate how use of language can be so much of discriminatory in nature. Like in our everyday lives, the type of abusive languages we use against each other, they are so much discriminatory in nature, they are so much shameful in nature, that they speak so much against a particular gender, they are so much sexualized in nature. Use of such languages should be abolished in our society. It should be totally prohibited, because it is so much of gender discriminatory in nature. Besides that, we have many other examples. The type of languages that we used in our geopolitical theory or in the economic theory, they also have lots of connotations which are discriminatory against a particular group or against a particular community or gender, or it can be anything else. So, therefore, language can be a very important source of domination in various ways. Now, the second is mass media. Now, we know that mass media, they through various means and with the advent of social media especially, they have played a very important role in manipulating our thoughts. And when they manipulate our thoughts, they manipulate our behavioral pattern also. It has promoted a very important type of phenomena which has led to a typical type of conformism in our behavior. Now, what we mean by conformism? The meaning of conformism is that we try to behave in the same way as others are behaving without actually questioning it, try to follow their ideas, their beliefs, their behavior without asking questions. Now, such type of conformism actually helps us to live in a comfort zone, because we are already following a prescribed path, a prescribed standard which has been already accepted by the society. We are afraid of breaking those rules and norms, because if we break those rules and norms, we may not be accepted by the society or we may be criticized by the society. So, therefore, there have been various reasons, or you can say a type of manipulation which has been taken place by the media, which has led to a very unique type of conformist behavior which we are witnessing amongst us. Now, this conformism is against all types of innovative thinking. Now, this conformism is so much dangerous for the change or the transformation to take place. It acts as a barrier, because when we are conformist, we are not creative. Once a very famous thinker has rightly said that in the present modern society, we are either competing, and if we are not competing, then we are trying to be conformist. But in the true sense of the term, we need to be creative. So, that creativity is getting lost in the present age of mass media. And the second important influence of mass media has been that human beings have become insensitive to violence, insensitive to repression. Somehow, in the comfort of life, or you can say that we have become addicted to so much of comforts of the modern generation, and we are witnessing so much of violence, so much of nudity and so much of obscenity on screen, that we are increasingly becoming insensitive to heightened levels of violence and nudity even in our everyday life. Now, that is a very alarming situation, because human beings are characterized by their high level of sensitivity towards each other. We are living in a society. If we are not sensitive towards each other's needs, demands and problems, then it is very difficult to sustain a human society. And the third important medium which has been highlighted by the critical theorist is the use of scientific methods. The increasing priority or importance, or you can say the significance given to science and scientific method had led to a creation of a hierarchy of knowledge, with science at the top and neglect of other modes of acquiring knowledge. As I have said in my earlier lecture also, that experience can also be a source of knowledge, but that is not considered an important mode of knowledge under science. Now, the next important significance is that the critical theory have helped us in understanding how grand traditions, whether enlightenment or communism, they could not live up to its promise of human growth and progress for all, and instead created various forms of inequalities and miseries for human society. Because I have already explained that how all the critical theorists have been, they have rejected all the perennial theories all the grand narratives or the meta narratives, and they have said that no one theory, no one proposition can claim to have the real truth or the absolute truth. And moreover, they have argued that these grand theories, in the name of promising human progress, they have actually created more inequalities, and we have to find out the reasons behind that, why such things happened. Now, the next important significance of critical theory has been it has provided various political perspectives to interpret social realities and transformative prospects for change in the present society. So, it has provided various political perspectives to understand that what is happening in the society, how we can bring about change, and why exploitation is taking place in the society. Now, I would like to come now to some of the practical impact of critical theory. Now, we must understand that it is not only at the theoretical level, but also at the practical level, the critical theory has influenced various movements across the world, and especially the student movements of 1960 in America. Now, after Second World War, we all know that United States enjoyed lots of prosperity and growth, and therefore, the site of struggle shifted from emancipation of proletariat to demands for alternative ways of life or culture. Students, they protested over the racial injustices, economic inequality, Vietnam War, and freedom of speech. It was the emergence of a new form of politics concerned with issues of identity, well-being or lifestyle. Now, it was not simply the students' movement of 1960s, but also in the 1990s. You know, the first generation critical theorists have influenced alter globalization and occupy movements. We all are aware that 1990s was the age of globalization, and also it was the age of liberalization and privatization. Now, alter globalization movement, as the name suggests, it is also known as anti-globalization movement that opposes the negative effects of economic globalization. It started with a wave of local and national protest against neoliberal policies. These movements reflected a complex articulation of wide variety of economic, cultural, environmental, civic right concerns and demands. Now, I would like to highlight some of the important critiques of advanced capitalism which have been made by the critical thinkers, and they are Max Horkheimer, Adorno and Marcuse. Now, they have highlighted basically three important criticisms of advanced capitalism, and the first is the critique of instrumental reason, and the second is the critique of culture industry, and third is the reduction of individuals as objects of administered life. Now, let us take all these points one by one. Now, what we mean by instrumental reason? Instrumental reason is the use of reason as an instrument for determining the best or most efficient means to achieve a given end. It is basically the use of reason, and it became popular during the Enlightenment tradition. Now, instrumental reason is a term used by Max Horkheimer and Theodor Adorno to describe a shift in social and political priorities. Instrumental reason, it actually prioritizes the objective over the subjective and efficiency of achieving goals over the meaning and purpose of goals. So, the emphasis was more on objectivity and rather on the subjectivity. The emphasis was more on the procedures and rather on the objectives or the substantive goals or the progress of human society. And because of the use of this instrumental rationality, it led to or a type of mentality which was dominated by the feeling of mastery. It was guided by a thinking of domination. So, in the pretext of satisfaction of human needs, actually it led to domination over nature, which led to degeneration of environment. It led to domination of man over man, which led to dehumanization and the loss of authenticity of human being. Now, all the critical theorists, have criticized instrumental reason from the cultural perspective, focusing on how alternative lives can emancipate human beings. Now, the second is a critique of culture industry. Now, we have already seen how culture has been reduced to commodity in modern society, which are purchased by the consumers who have the financial capacities for entertainment and amusement only, rather than other higher aims. Now, it is not for aesthetic purpose, it is not for some ethical purpose, but just to satisfy one's ego, or because I am having the financial capacity, so I can purchase any commodity. The cognitive and emancipatory aspects associated with works of art are lost, and the consumer is guided only by the utilitarian calculations of profit or loss, leading to loss of his true authentic self, inner emptiness and loss of creativity, etc. So, at the end of this lecture, I would like to ask you certain questions and ponder over it. And the first is, what are the major themes of critical theory? And the second is, what are the significance of critical theory? Third, explain some of the means by which the dominance is exercised in society. And since we know that the objective of this course is to steer the process of thinking in you, so I have given certain questions to think about. Now, the first is, actually, can you think of any relations in society which is unequal in terms of power, and how it impacts the nature or behavior of individuals in that relation? Now, why the critical voices are gradually disappearing from the society? Think of some of the ways in which mass media influences our everyday lives. So, with that, I come to the end of third lecture of week 1. Thank you very much.